Hi, I'm Jasmine, career consultant, influencer, inclusive leader, mentor, connector, advocate, author, and entrepreneur. Most importantly, I'm a Black woman on the journey of navigating seeking purpose, hoping to positively impact others along the way. I started this podcast to bring the aha moments and inspirational takeaways from my book to life. So, by facilitating meaningful conversations and listening to diverse perspectives, I hope to continue that growth and help others as they continue on their own personal journeys to seeking purpose. Welcome back to season 2, and we are on episode 2. I'm really excited about this episode because it's near and dear to my heart and it's directly connected with where I'm currently at in life. And today's episode is called Between But and Yet. I was recently having a check in with my mentor, and the first question that she asked me was, Jazz, what's going on and where are you at in life? Both loaded and direct. I knew I had to give her the real. So, of course, after a couple eye rolls and a little bit of stalling, I had to be honest and I responded. If you were to ask me where I'm currently at in life, it is between but and yet. And like any good mentor, she guided me as I unpacked my thoughts in that moment and assigned me some homework to get through what it actually means to be in the position between but and yet. So, what does that mean between but and yet? So, I can find revelation in almost anything. So, please stick with me. And I promise it's going to go somewhere. Both the word but and the word yet are coordinating conjunctions. And the goal of coordinating conjunctions are to bring two things together on the same level. Yet means still, even. It implies a specified time. Sometimes you'll use it for up until the present or at the same time. It could also be a substitute for nevertheless. Then transitioning into but. But means impossibility. It could be used to describe being apart from or a substitute for except. It's contrasting what has already been missing. Both but and yet signal transition. But is the matter of fact, the logical response, and yet is the emotional. It's a surprise or even an expectation. Again, both of those two words signaling contrast. Subtle differences between the two with big meaning and ultimately leading to big results. And that, my friends, is where you're going to currently find me between but and yet. In transition and optimistic, sitting within that contrast of embracing my gifts, navigating the next, and making my wildest dreams come true. But it's also being thankful for the wins, releasing control, trusting the timing of my life, and making the hard decisions all at the same time. And you might be wondering, how does someone get to that transition between but and yet and sitting in the middle? Um, if you've been following Jasmine's guide, then you know I'm on what I'm calling my runway to 30. If you want to learn more, head over to Instagram or catch the overview on YouTube. However, the courage to ask a simple question that's yet vulnerable has helped me usher myself into this next chapter. And I say that to say, when I started this, what I'm calling the runway to 30, I started with so much excitement and eagerness to embrace whatever this next chapter brings. Yet, here I am, a little bit more than halfway through the runway in this uncomfortable but still hopeful for what's to come space. In the midst of transitioning into this new decade of life soon, I find myself transitioning in my career, relationships, leadership, and even faith. Testing what I know, what I desire, where I hope to be, and all the things in between. But what I know for sure is that blessings happen as you move, but you must discern when it's time to do it. So, here I am. Felt it would be good to make this a little personal and give a couple of examples. So, first example to kind of highlight this between but and yet. Recently, I had to evaluate some relationships in my life, really thinking about what I want and if it's actually in alignment with where I hope to land and what my view of life looks like. And it's a tough spot when you realize what you want and who you want might not be ready for you. You're confronted with the choice to decide how are you going to respond. Are you okay with where things are at the moment, but would you be okay if they stayed the same? For me, in this case, I knew I wanted more. So the results, I had to make a hard decision. Yet, still hopeful for the future possibility that if it's actually in alignment, then it'll come back around the way that I desire it to be, between but and yet. Second example, I just had the amazing opportunity to get out of my comfort zone and develop and facilitate a training that not only knocked a goal off of my vision board, but it would also help elevate my business. Now, how did I find myself getting an opportunity that I actually asked for, but still found myself second guessing? Sometimes we can be so scared of the idea of success, the same exact way we're scared of the things that don't work out or don't necessarily go our way. I know I can do the training. I know I'm proficient in the content, but I'm connecting with a new audience. This is new territory, yet I was invited to speak, and it's directly connected to my future goals. Again, between but and yet. And the last example I'll give you is I'm currently serving in a leadership role that I always dreamed of holding, but I was elected sooner than I had hoped or even planned to. I thought it was too soon. I was extremely nervous to step into that role, yet I was elected unanimously, and I'm in that space now, learning as I go. These are these moments where I find myself evaluating what I asked for versus what I got. And knowing that even if those things don't go exactly the way that I thought they should happen or look the way that they did in my mind or happened in that time frame that I was expecting or predicted or wanting them to happen, it's all working out for my good, which leads to the aha moments. This is what I've coined as a term called divine contradictions. So the things that kind of go hand in hand but make absolutely no sense. So when we think about good and bad, good and evil, and recently I was listening to a sermon regarding the relationship between belief and faith, right? So it's this idea that belief and faith are connected directly to how much we doubt, right? So sometimes we find ourselves sitting in the space, can I do this? Will I be successful? All the things that, confront us, from overthinking to just, talking ourselves out of things and really sitting in that place of doubt. And it dawned on me from that sermon that we can't have doubt if we didn't have a belief in the first place, right? So it had to start in something good. We had to have faith somewhere. And so those constant battles that impact our experiences, decisions, emotions, again, that contrast between but and yet. And thinking back on it, that's where the aha moment between but and yet was born. And the beauty of mentors who give you homework and food for thought, you take some time to reflect and figure that out. So that led me to think about where I'm at, where I want to be, and all the questions in between. So what happens if you find yourself in growth, transition, after you started actually walking in your purpose? And I've noticed that people don't always warn you about the grief between moving from good to get to great, right? When you think things are working out, but they're not 100%, where you want them to be, and you're still expecting more. Quick answer, it's rough, and navigating grief when something hasn't died is this strange yet inevitable place to be. And that was a foreign thought to me until I thought about all of this and all the emotions of releasing of the thought of what was or what could have been, and developing tools to become hopeful in what's to come while going after the goal, especially when that sneaks up on you, is tough. But moving forward, you have to ask yourself, What are you willing to sacrifice? When you're creating anything, you have two options. You're either going to build from the ground up or you're going to refurbish. Both require some sort of construction, some sort of discomfort. And are you willing to risk good in order to achieve great? If you if you're someone who's content and you feel safe with where you are, but you know it's not your dream, will you rise to the challenge and elevate? Or will you stay in the comfort zone and still have to wonder what if? It's grief either way. The caveat is no matter how you answer those questions, grief is going to be in the mix. And so I'm currently learning how to work through all the fields in the middle of being in this season between but and yet and figuring it out along the way. And so I'm constantly teetering between can you have faith and work the vision that you know that you have, even if it means letting go of comfort or letting go of what seems good? And can I actually have the courage to make the hard decision? So, what if everything that's happening and moving is actually molding you into what you're meant to be doing? So, those are all questions that I'm learning and I'm asking myself every day when I find those challenges of, okay, I'm excited for, what's to come, but right now I don't see how it's going to happen. Those are the moments where I have to sit back, reflect, and do a little journaling to see what comes of it. So as I'm in this period of still moving forward and developing the next steps, this quote has really been speaking to me. Just because you know something doesn't mean you're ready for what you know. Clarence Langston. And so as I'm learning to release the spirit of supposed to be, knowing that everything I asked for comes with some sort of development, and thinking back to that question of what I asked for versus what I got, sometimes what we ask for isn't even big enough to connect with what we're actually capable of doing. And sometimes what we actually are waiting for in the moment, we're being developed. So even though it doesn't look like it in the moment, doesn't mean that we won't make it happen. So being in the middle of but and yet has made me realize that making decisions from a healed place is still difficult because it causes you to go against your normal grain. It gets you out of your traditional comfort zone. It causes discomfort because not only are you not always going to be able to pick your first choice in the moment, but different can be scary. It's activating faith and having hope in the things unseen. So, what I would encourage you to do and what I'm currently walking out in this moment is make the move, make the decision. The character development is essential to the plot of your life. We make it look easy because we literally only show the end result, but not the back end of progress. So one of the things I'm committing to in 2024 is being honest and vulnerable about what that back end looks like. What does it mean to navigate the space between but and yet, and inspire folks along the way? So maybe it's the wisdom of being almost 30 or just the call that's on my life at this time. But this season, I really feel pulled to give real-time revelations like these and the insights of how I continue to stay locked in on this journey of seeking purpose. So even though I identified a little bit of my gifts and where I think I should go, knowing that process and that journey is continuously evolving. So whether it's unpacking a recent aha moment or getting wisdom from some of the amazing people in my life, and I can't wait to bring some of those folks on the podcast, we're keeping the conversations open, we're keeping them honest, and most importantly, we're keeping them authentic. Some things may not be where you want them to be now, but it may be, a nugget that you'll need in the future. And maybe something that you heard today, or maybe it'll be an upcoming episode where we're talking about things like healing from the things that you thought you already healed. Or maybe you might have heard something that, you may not need now, but you'll need it in the future. No matter where you are on this journey of seeking purpose, I hope my journey can help you along the way. So thanks for listening. And remember, it's okay to be between but and yet.